Joining us now with more, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan. Mr. Speaker, I'm not going out of order here, but your questions last are more important, and I'll explain. You'll see why in a minute. All right, we just heard from James Comer. Now I want to know what the judiciary.
Yeah.
You are now looking into whether the FBI is politicized and weaponized, and whether the DOJ has been politicized and weaponized. And I'll take it a step further, Chairman Jordan. Is this DOJ, have they been playing the protective arm for the Biden family syndicate? Because it certainly looks like it tonight.
Well, that's certainly what Gary Shapley, the whistleblower, said, Sean. And, you know, somebody's lying here. And I don't think it's the whistleblower. I don't think it's Mr. Shapley, who has put together a timeline, memorialized all the things that he's done in the course of this investigation. So I think Joe Biden has said things that don't square with what the whistleblower said. The Attorney General has certainly said things that don't square with what the whistleblower has related to us, specifically that David Weiss had complete authority, complete charging authority in this investigation. That's not, in fact, David Weiss wrote me back and said that, but that's not what the whistleblower says, and practice shows that, because when he tried to bring charges in the Central District of LA and when he tried to bring charges in DC, he was denied that again, according to the whistleblower. That's why I think this whistleblower is very credible. 14 years working at the IRS, handling some of the biggest tax cases in the country, international tax cases. So I think he's very credible. I think what he said is accurate. Somebody's not telling the truth, and it's our job to bring people in and find out exactly how this thing all went down.
Okay, so this first whistleblower, we had the first two IRS whistleblowers. Shapley is very clear that he was stopped from pursuing investigative leads into both Joe Biden, the big guy, or anybody in between. And we have to make sure, as the IRS criminal investigation, that we treat every single person exactly the same. 14-year veteran. Good for him for saying that. That's the way it should be. And that simply did not happen here. And based on my experience, if this was a small business owner or any other non-connected individual, they would have been charged with felony counts. Does that sound like equal justice under the law, Jim Jordan?
No, 60% of the country thinks there's a double standard at the Justice Department, Sean. They think that because there is. Anyone with common sense can see this. Why did the assistant U.S. attorney there working for David Weiss, why did she tip off the Hunter Biden lawyers saying when the day before they were going to interview people? Why did she say no to a search warrant for the storage unit that they wanted to go? Part of just a normal investigation, she said no to that search warrant. Why did she say you couldn't ask questions when you were doing interviews as part of this investigation about Joe Biden, and you couldn't use the term the big guy? Why all that? Why did they do all that? Something is not going right here. Everyone, I think, sees that, and it's why we're going to bring in 3 U.S. attorneys. We got to come in and we got to talk to 3 U.S. attorneys. We got to talk to a number of assistant U.S. attorneys and a number of people who worked in the FBI who were all part of this now somewhat, I think, famous meeting on October 7th, 2022, the Red Line meeting, as the whistleblower has talked about. So we got our work to do. We're going to do it.
Okay, so now we know that according to 6 IRS whistleblowers, they said that this prosecutor Weiss told them, all of them, and they took contemporaneous notes, many of them, and sent emails in real time, that in fact David Weiss was saying he didn't have the power, the authority that the Attorney General was stating publicly that he had to go after the Bidens with the full force and power of his position, even though he was denied special counsel status, that he was denied by another state and then another state, California, from pursuing charges. And over the time, elapsed time, then the statute of limitations ran out. And then we're going to get to Kevin. Last word, Jim.
Yes. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. When he goes to the Central District of LA and that U.S. attorney turns him down, what that meant in practice was they couldn't bring any charge, any tax year concerns of 2014 to 15, and that was all about Burisma. So in effect, Hunter Biden, all the hundreds of thousands of dollars he got paid, he never had to pay taxes on that. That is what this whistleblower alleges, and it seems to be that is exactly what happened.
All right, Speaker McCarthy, let me bring you into this. Because if in fact Merrick Garland, our Attorney General, lied and that Mr. Weiss said what he said, and we have 6 people sending contemporaneous notes would prove that, in fact, Weiss said this, that he did not have the authority that the Attorney General testified to under oath before Congress. Is that perjury, sir?
Well, it's lying to Congress, yes. And that, what I said earlier, someone has lied here. If we find that Garland has lied to Congress, we will start impeachment inquiry. But you have to understand what we found out. First of all, I've got to thank these 3 chairmen. What Jim Jordan, what Comer has done, what Jason Smith has done, we wouldn't know any of this if we didn't win the majority. We would not know any of this if we didn't start the weaponization committee that Jim Jordan runs over. There are people now that are lying, and think of what transpired. They let the statute of limitation run out, 6 years. These are the most serious allegations that he would get prosecuted over, but also remember, this is the timeline when his father was serving as vice president. Then they did not allow the prosecution. They let him off on paying hundreds of thousands of dollars on the taxes of what he transpired. Then they also tipped off his attorneys. His attorneys didn't even know he had a storage unit with papers in it. Why would they call and tell him ahead of time and say we're going to come a couple days later? They literally tipped off the inaugural committee. They tipped off when they wanted to go see Hunter Biden before. No one else would get treated this way. But this goes direct conflict of what Garland has told members of Congress and Senate, that Weiss had all power. And now we're finding that that's not true. So what we need to do, just like you do as anything else, bring everybody into the room. Let's look everybody in the eye. Who's lying here? Because you've got 6 people. You've got 2 IRS agents that have worked very hard on this. They have no axe to grind anywhere else. They just see that justice is not equal. And if we had not won the majority, America would not know anything about this.
The IRS whistleblower Gary Shapley said there were certain investigative steps we were not allowed to take that could have led us to President Biden.
They were stopped.
He further went on to say in 2017 and 18 that the real money in unpaid taxes was $580,000 for 2017, $620,000 for 2018, and from the years 2014 leading forward, and that's Burisma money, they let the statute of limitations run out. Does that sound like a Justice Department? Go ahead.
No, that's not. And that 1023, the IRS was never allowed to see that. That also, when you think about that Burisma money, he didn't have it paid directly to himself. He had it paid to a business partner. These aren't LLCs. These are shell companies. But what else he did, the business partner warned Hunter Biden, you need to change this and put this on your taxes. So you know what Hunter Biden did? He stopped having as his business partner. And they let the statute of limitations, 6 years. Have they ever waited 6 years to go after any Republican? They investigate so fast. But they allowed those 6 years because those were the most egregious. Those are the ones that could be prosecuted the easiest. And those are the years that his father was serving as vice president. And remember what the job as his father was? President Obama made Vice President Biden in charge of Ukraine.
Okay. Is there more to come? I'll ask you both. Mr. Speaker, you go first. In other words, do we have in the wings other whistleblowers? Because I'm told we do.
Every single day we work on this. All this information coming forward is the hours of work we've been putting in for the last couple months, and there's more information to come, and we will follow it wherever it takes us.
Jim Jordan,
Sean, the Speaker's been clear. The Speaker's been clear. Every single committee is going to continue to work to get the truth and get the facts, and then, in fact, when we have those facts, if impeachment is warranted, we will proceed just like the Speaker has said.
All right. Thank you, Jim Jordan.